If you already have a QGIS project that you want to use in your field survey, you just install Mergin Maps plugin for QGIS and use the packaging system. So the packaging system will package everything to the folder, so all your layers are offline, can be used offline.
Welcome to another episode of the Mapscaping podcast. My name is Daniel, and this is a podcast for the geospatial community. My guest on the show today is Peter Petrek. He is the COO of a company called Lutra Consulting, and Lutra does a bunch of really interesting work in the open source geospatial world. They are part of the QGIS core development team, and today on the podcast we're talking about Mergin Maps, which is open source software that will help you take QGIS offline. Hi Peter, welcome to the podcast. You are the COO of something called Lutra Consulting. You guys do a bunch of amazing work with the QGIS project. I know you do a lot of other things as well. And one of the things I want to talk to you about today is something called Mergin Maps. I think before we get there, could you just introduce yourself to the audience, please? Who are you and how did you get involved in geospatial?
Hi, thank you for bringing me here. I am Peter Petrek and work on Lutra. I got to the geospatial 8 years ago. A lot of fun to do this open source and GIS together.
What were you working on before? Like what industry or what background did you come from before?
Yeah, it was automotive industry, and we developed numerical solvers for combustion systems.
It sounds like a long way away from maps. Like, was there any crossover there apart from obviously the programming skills that you use?
Yeah, I'm studied physics and numerical methods, so I worked in GIS on a mesh layer in QGIS, where you use these simulations for modeling, let's say, floods or meteorological data. So it's the physics is all the same everywhere. So it depends where you use it. So that's kind of crossover for me.
Just one final question before we sort of move on to this Mergin Maps thing. What language do you develop in?
Mostly C++, Python, and C. That's my preference if I had to choose.
Cool. So you guys have developed this thing called Mergin Maps, and if I go to the website, merginmaps.com, it basically says something along the lines of like taking a QGIS offline. Could you tell me what Mergin Maps is? And then I think we'll sort of break it down to the different components and walk through those so people have a good understanding by the end of this of what it is and how they can use it.
Yes, Mergin Maps is a way how to collect field data with your mobile or tablet easily and collaboratively with your team, and then synchronize it seamlessly to the cloud or your server, and then follow to synchronization to QGIS, where you can use all the QGIS features to post-process or analyze the project.
My understanding is that this starts with a QGIS project. So could you walk me through an example here? So I work with QGIS. What do I do to be able to use this to do the synchronization offline and have people working like out in the field on these apps? And how do I get the information back to QGIS? But let's start with a QGIS project. What do I need to do to make this work?
So if you already have a QGIS project that you want to use in your field survey, that's the easiest way. Easy solution is that you just install Mergin Maps plugin for QGIS and use the packaging system. So the packaging system will package everything to the folder, so all your layers are offline, can be used offline. It also does a bunch of validation, so you can be sure that it will work correctly on your mobile phone. Then you just click synchronize button, so it will goes to the cloud. And on your mobile phone, you install Mergin Maps input again and synchronize back, and you have your QGIS project on your mobile, and you can use it. You can digitize some data, get some data outside.
Okay, that was definitely a high level overview of that. You mentioned so this QGIS plugin called Mergin Maps, I believe, it does a lot of the stuff for me. Can you tell me what does my project have to? Are there any requirements before I start using that plugin? I'm thinking about these different layers I might have. So some of them might be online layers. I might have a base map, for example, from OpenStreetMaps or something like that. What do I need to think about before I push publish to the cloud?
You can use, because this mobile application uses really the same rendering engine, the QGIS core library, as your desktop QGIS application. You pretty much doesn't need to do anything because it will render the project on your mobile directly as it is on desktop. It is the same engine that renders it. same engine that reads the project. So it's not like transformation. It's really the same QGIS running on your mobile with a bit different user interface. So if you have some online map in your project, you can use it as it is on your mobile. But then on a mobile, you need to be online so you can see the background map. Also, you can use some QGIS processing tools to generate the offline map from your online map, and then it can be used offline on your mobile because you don't need internet connection to fetch the data from some servers. So you can use it both ways. You can use some map teams to switch between online services and offline. It's up to you.
So that makes perfect sense. So if I want to use the online stuff, I can either say, okay, I need to be working in an area where my mobile devices are connected online. Then I can use the maps, and then the data that they're editing, for example, or creating, that could be offline. Or I could use some other tools in QGIS and perhaps cache that online map that I'm using in my QGIS desktop, and then move that through the packaging environment over to my mobile devices. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, it's perfectly correct. Yes.
Okay, so it sounded almost a bit simple. Like, so I have this project, I push a button and something happens. What is it that it happens? So it packages this, it makes a package out of whatever it is I'm using in my desktop environment, and it pushes it to what?
The package is really just a series of validations. So it makes sure, for example, that because it's synchronized, it works on file base. Usually your survey layer is in geo package. That's what we prefer and has the highest support for it. So there is the packaging or validation is just make sure that some of your layer is not completely somewhere else on your disk. So it's still in the same folder, and also show you some basic validation problems like you have some settings on, but it's not correctly set up, so it will not work on mobile and stuff like that. So when you click sync, it will just take the whole folder and push it to the server. The server can be either your server that you deploy on yourself, because we are all open source, so you can like fetch the server Docker container from our GitHub and deploy it yourself. But if you don't want to maintain your server installation, which need some knowledge about the Docker and all the server infrastructure and maintenance, then you can use our cloud. You can buy some subscription that suits you, or if you are a student, teacher, or you use it in academic or personal use, like for your own personal projects, then it's for free. Then it goes to the server, and you can also use web server to see your data or see your versions there, because every version you create, or every new version you create, it's locked, so you can see the difference and you see what changed and who changed what.
Wow. So let's say for a minute that we're using your cloud, and do I need to log into that? Do I have to have created an account before I publish to the cloud, or does that happen, during the first publishing stage?
Yeah, you need to create an account on the cloud to be able to push. You just make some username and email and password, and it should go.
And then I can see that on the cloud. So I can see that this project that I've created on the cloud, and I can see all the different versions of that as people start editing it and changing it. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, that's correct. You can also invite your colleagues to the same project, either as a writers or readers or administrators. Administrators can also invite others or change the permissions. Readers can just get the project and view the data, and writers obviously can create new versions, either from QGIS or from mobile application. So it's kind of user management system, similar what you know from other cloud services.
Wow, that sounds really cool. What makes a new version? Is that every time it gets an update from a user, or is that at a specific time scale? Like, so every day a new version is created, or does it depend on how many changes are being made? Like, how do we define a new version?
The technical background of the whole service is similar to the Git. So every time you change, let's say, easiest example is that you change, you go to the field and let's say add a few points or modify attributes of few of your points, and then you press a sync button. So it will make a difference between the original file and your modified file, and this difference file is sent to the server where it's applied to your project. So one version is a set of changes in your layers or QGIS project that is sent in one batch.
Well, so if I had hundreds or thousands of users, people modifying things in the field, I'd have a version for every single user as they updated each day, for example.
Yes, yes. When they update, you will see it as a new version. It also does automatic merging. So when you have, let's say, 10 users in a field and everyone is offline, and at the end they come to the office and everyone synchronized in the evening, it will automatically come together and try to merge the data from 10 sources to the one. So you don't need to do this manually usually. Most of the cases, you don't need to do it manually. So it's all automatic. And you can also make some audit log. So you see who did the change, when, what was the change. If you fetch it to the QGIS, then there you can see also visually like which points were added or which points were modified, like geometry or some attributes. You can make a report from it and stuff like that. So it's pretty verbose what you can do this with this versioning. It's really, you can also think of it of some versioning system if you don't want to use Postgres or PostGIS and you just want to version your QGIS project or geodata, geo packages, you can just use the Mergin Maps simply to version your data and not lose them. And you don't need to set up some difficult database system for that.
Is there a size limit to the projects that we're, or how big a project can be once it's in the cloud?
My project with few gigabyte size or few thousands of versions, and it works nicely. Only limit if you use a cloud, then you need to have additional. You need to have a storage available in your plan, subscription plan. But technically, it's we are trying to support everything pretty much.
Okay, so if I understand this correctly, I'm looking at pricing now on virginmaps.com. Pricing, and yeah, okay, so I can see that you can just buy more storage essentially. So it starts off with, I think the free plan is up to 100 megabytes of storage. Then you go up to a gigabyte, 10 gigabytes, 50 gigabytes of storage. But okay, so it's just a question. If you want more storage, you can just pay for more and get it.
Yes, yes. Also, this storage is for the last version. It's not the whole history. So if you have written there 50 gigabyte, it means that that's the size of your like life, the latest version. So all history versions are not counting. And also, we have a very much bunch of tools that you can use to reduce size of your storage. We have a recently developed tool that in QGIS, you can set up that you don't need full resolution photos from your field survey. So you can set up let's say you want to reduce the size of the photos to 1 megabyte after they are taken on mobile. So you are not sending ridiculously high resolution photos if you don't need them. So this is done automatically by the mobile application, Mergin Maps input. Or there are, let's say, some other integrations that we have developed. Like for example, when you have photos on the cloud, you can run one Python Docker container that will get the photos from a cloud, move them to some third party storage, for example, Amazon S3 bucket, and it will also patch your QGIS project with a link to these moved files. So if you open the project in QGIS, you can still see the reference to the photos that are not now on the cloud. So
Wow, that sounds like a great idea. Can you tell me more about this input app? So, what environments does it run on, and how do I get it?
mainly it's for Android and iOS devices, iPhones, iPads. It can run on any mobile or tablet. We are developing also Windows version and we also have desktop versions, but main usage is for pretty much any hardware you run. It doesn't have any strict hardware requirements. It should run on pretty much any mobile or tablet. It's also optimized for small mobiles, so you don't need to buy a tablet or something bigger to be able to use all features. And main limitation is mostly the size of the project. So if you have some very big project, you need to make sure that you have enough storage on your phone to fetch it and use it.
So, if I download this on my Android device, how do I link that to these projects that are being created in Mergin Maps? Like, how do I get access to that project? Do I also, as a user, as an editor, someone out in the field, do I need to have a login to Mergin Maps if we're using your cloud to be able to edit the project?
It's the same. It's the same login as you use in a web or plugin or a mobile application. So you create your username once, and then you log in a QGIS plugin or input app or web with the same username password, and it also connects to your account. So you install the application, log into your username and password you have for plugin, and then you immediately see a list of your project on the cloud. You click download button, it will download your project, and you see the map, and you can do whatever you want in the field, digitize some points, edit some data, push, sync it back.
Okay, so if like let's say I'm the map creator, I'm the project creator, and then I have 15 other people that I've never met, for example, working that are going to go and do some field work. Let's say they're all freelancers, just so we have an example. Do I just send them my login then? Because I'm the one that created this login on your cloud. So I just send them my login details, and then they download the app, log in with my details, and they can see the projects that I've created.
I would not advise this simply because then you will not see who did the change because it's the same login, and we don't have any restriction for number of users that you can share your project with. So the best way, if you ask them to create Mergin Maps accounts, and then you can add them to your project as a writers or readers on a web. So, and once they will log into their mobile phones with their account, they will see your project as a shared with them.
Okay, this makes so much more sense to me. So I, as the map author, I have a lot of control over who does what and what people can see. And then I guess that way I can also see, when they make edits, for example, that'll all be visible in the logs.
Yes, yes. We have many examples, users using this way. For example, is the GIS, you are GIS consultant and some nature reserve ask you to help with collecting data from like, about trees or about some animals in your nature reserve. So you just create one project in QGIS, you are QGIS expert, and you maintain the project and you do some reports analysis, and you have, let's say, 20, 40 volunteers that you just tell them to install the app and you share it with them and they go around the forest and get the data for you. So, and like we have, for example, one case study from Kent Wildlife Trust in UK where this is done, and for presence of invasive species, food plants or bisons and other animals in there, for example.
This app input, is it basically like a simplified version of QGIS on my mobile device?
Yes, it's right. And also, we try to keep it very intuitive and very easy to use. We think about all new features that they shouldn't bring more complexity to new users. We really like that the app is, you can use it without any training pretty much. In 15 minutes, you know how to use it. If you are familiar with very normal apps on your phone with maps for car navigation and stuff like that. So that's the goal. So you can give it to anyone, any volunteer, or we had a citizen project in Netherlands, and people are installing the app and going around and filling some forms for archaeological discoveries of Celtic burial mounds. It's a heritage quest project. So really anyone, and also almost without training or no training, you can just install the app and go. That's what we want. So if you have some QGIS user that can set up a project and then get the data and make some reports and analysis afterwards, then the people outside, they don't need anything, don't need training, they don't need to know anything about GIS.
I think that this sounds really cool. But I want to ask, so one of the things I notice with my mobile devices when I'm outside, it's not necessarily the most accurate in terms of if I wanted to go outside and do some digitizing, the GPS or the location I get from my mobile device is not always that great. Will this app recognize an external GPS?
Yes, yes. We support most of the used external GPS too. So you can just plug it in, and in Android, you can just connect to it, connect it to recognize that you have external GPS. So you can connect to it and use it, and it will use the external GPS precision. So yeah, you can use this too if you have. Yeah, but many applications you don't need that. If you are outside and you have clear sky, then many applications you like this few meters precision. It's fine for you. Some applications you can connect external GPS, so it's supported.
I want to go back to this idea of authoring these projects just for a second. When I do that in QGIS, is that the place that I decide what layers and perhaps even what features within what layers are editable, or is everything that I publish can be edited by the people using this? Or how do I sort of limit things? How do I simplify things for the user in terms of what they can edit and perhaps even what the values they can add as attributes?
Yes, in QGIS you can use the form setup similarly as you set up your QGIS project for desktop, and for each value you can use a various widgets. So, for example, for integer values, use integer widget. So on mobile phone, it will appear as a slider or field where you can only input number, or same for dates and date times. So on mobile phone, it will pop up the calendar. You can also set up constraints in QGIS, or limits, where you can say, okay, this number must be positive or cannot be bigger than 100. Or also you can set up various other widgets like choose from a list, or from set values, checkbox, and all the common widgets you can imagine, and all the common constraints. You can also use QGIS expression engine, do various derived fields. You can also use tabs, so you can make a form. So, for example, only if some checkbox is checked, it will some additional info will be shown to the user. So he needs to fill some additional info. Yeah, there are like plenty of possibilities, and many of those are supported on both QGIS and mobile app. Mergin Maps input, and you can tweak with it and make something that will bring you very quality data back from field survey in the format you want, with some basic quality assurance already. So, and later on, if you are still, some companies do that with Mergin Maps, you can have a Python integration. We have some Python modules, and also QGIS has Python integration. So you can afterwards make some scripts in QGIS on your server that further validates the data from a field. So it's all nice when you want to process it or make some reports from it.
That sounds like there's a ton of possibilities here. What does the synchronization process look like? And I think that this might be one of the harder things to get right, making sure that people upload the data when they're finished. Like what does that look like?
Mhm. On your mobile application, you have a button to synchronize on your canvas. So there is like, you just click the button and it will send the data to the cloud. Also, we implemented recently a feature for auto syncing. So if you want, you can start this auto syncing on your Mergin Maps input mobile application, which means that every time a modification is done to your project on a field, it will automatically send that one edit directly. So it will not wait for a batch or manual clicking of the button, but it will do it automatically.
Oh, that's really smart. And then in terms of my project, getting that back down. So I'm back in my QGIS desktop now. In terms of getting that back down from the cloud, how do I do that?
Again, then in the plugin there is a button to sync, so you just click the button and it will fetch the latest version from the cloud. So, and then there are some tools in the QGIS where you can see like what you fetched and analyze that further.
Let's say this is an ongoing project and I want to make some changes to my original QGIS project, which I uploaded. Can I just do that as well and then sync again, overwrite that project that is on the cloud, and then that will be updated as well automatically out to the various users?
Yes, you can do that.
This sounds incredible. So I can see a ton of opportunities for this, especially for these kind of citizen science projects. But who's using this commercially, and do you have an idea of what they're doing with it?
Yeah, we have plenty of users from various industries. For example, in electricity, utilities, fiber optic companies, many GIS consultants, if they have a job for any field surveys for their clients, they want, and they are using open source GIS in their work, they pick for our solution. And then agriculture, we have clients that have some farms, either individuals or bigger, that they use it for soil samples or recording the, let's say we have a case study from South Africa where farmer records weight of the pecan nuts for each tree, and soil composition for his farm. Then it could be telecommunications industry doing some asset management, or doing a progress of some work outside. So For example, in if we talk about as an example about the fiber optics or internet provider company, first of all, they need to do some high level design of their work. So to verify it's possible, they need to go around and make sure that land use is classified correctly in their maps, and it's possible to build it there. So they can use Mergin Maps for that for their surveyors. Once they produce a detailed design, so they can again go outside with the same QGIS project they use for designing and see if the design is reasonable. So, for example, you don't have a cabinet blocking your window, so you will not see anything anymore after it's built. So they can check on the side with input and mark some problems. And once it's confirmed, then during the implementation, they can again go with this QGIS record, QGIS project on mobile, input up to the field and see, or to the city, and see and record all deviations from the design. So when there's like build something differently than it was planned, they can like note it, and so they have the correct plans at the end. And then once built and working, they can do again use Mergin Maps for asset management. So if something breaks, they can again have a project in mobile and send someone to there to fix it and stuff like that. So yeah, we have many users from various industries, and because it's so flexible as QGIS. So if you are using QGIS in your company, then it's kind of straightforward to extend it to your field surveys with Mergin Maps.
What does the development pipeline look like on this? Like, so I would imagine that you're constantly fixing bugs and implementing new features. What can we expect to see in this project for in the next year's time, 2 years' time?
We want to make the smoothest experience for the field surveys. So in the long term, we have planned, for example, to integrate map overviews or web maps to the Mergin Maps cloud. So when you get a new version, you can instantly see a web map based on QGIS server. Again, the same graphics as you see on desktop and mobile, and you can share it with your client. So the client can see, let's say, progress of implementation of this fiber design like in real time. It's one feature it will not be in 2 years, it will be much sooner. It will be hopefully end of this year or early next year.
This sounds amazing. Just so I understand this, so this will be like a link or something like that I can click on in Mergin Maps in your cloud, where I can follow that to a web map and I can see the progress each day. So if people were synchronizing their data each day, I could see that just sort of as they synchronize it being added to the map, and that's something I could share with whatever client I was working with or interest group that was involved.
Yes. Also, these bigger companies, they have, for example, big TV screens in their offices where they see let's say, all the fibers, or they have implemented or some monitoring system, and so you can then use it directly from a cloud. So you don't need to deploy all web maps. Let's say that's one addition we would like to see. Then all those we have a Slack community chat where you can join as a merginmaps.com/community/join. And we regularly talk with our users. And if users want some feature, for example, now we are discussing with the community a new permission system. So you will be able, for example, to say you can, like, some people can modify the project on a desktop and some people can modify the project only on mobile. So or other permissions that are not implemented yet, but if the community wants it, we discuss with them how we implement it and we try to implement it. So there are a lot of features, smaller or bigger, that we are working on. And of course, there is plenty of work where we optimize the cloud service so it runs smoothly, and there is no it's run fast and efficiently. So
I gotta say that this sounds amazing. And I think right at the start, you mentioned something about I could just do this myself. So we've been talking about your cloud at the moment, but if I wanted to and I was tech savvy enough, can I download Mergin Maps and run it on my own server? I could just do all this myself.
yes, you can do it. There is a public GitHub repository with a Docker Compose file, so you can just do Docker Compose up, and it should work for your personal project. If, for example, to have it, as I said, for company or production ready, then you need to know a bit of from the server and Docker, so it's secure and everything. But there is a Docker Compose file you can run yourself if you want to try it out. In generally, we are very much in this open source GIS world, and we do a lot of open source stuff for QGIS and crowdfundings and everything. So we really love this open source mentality and like no vendor locking and community and everything that comes with it. So we will always have this community edition in a way that you will be not vendor locked. You can use it on your own and set it up. We also offer enterprise edition where there are some more advanced enterprise features that usually you don't need if you have a smaller company or you use it for your own. And also it comes with help with deployment and help with maintenance of the server. But as I said, you can use the community edition. Everything is open. You can join the Slack chat and ask us if there is some problem.
This never ceases to amaze me with the open source community, like the generosity there. I think the temptation for a lot of companies would be say like, this is our IP, we made this, and you have to pay to get access to it. I'm kind of blown away by this. That enterprise version that you're talking about, just so I understand this is something that like a paid version of it that I can install on my own machine, and you would help me with that. So if I run into problems, you would like log on to my environment, my server, and fix things and update things.
Yes, this enterprise version is meant for bigger companies that they need to have the data on their servers for some maybe legal reasons or security reasons or internal rules. And to facilitate that, it's basically giving them our knowledge, running this cloud service for years, and trying to make their deployment as efficient as possible and help them with deployment or updates and our knowledge. So they feel that if they had to go this way, it's all fine and everything will work smoothly.
This sounds amazing. Like honestly, it sounds unbelievable. I can just see the huge benefit this would be for a whole bunch of citizen science projects, for a whole bunch of businesses. I'm already thinking, shit, I wonder if there's like some ground truthing business I could set up with some of the satellite companies or something like that, where you could say to people, oh, you need this data ground truth. You could make a project and do it all remotely and then just sort of publish it out to the web. Like, who wants to do this kind of thing? Almost like in the gig economy. I don't know if it's realistic or not, but I could see a bunch of opportunities here. So thank you very much for making this, offering that sort of community version to people. And I guess just generally making helping improve the awareness around open source geospatial and QGIS. I think it's absolutely brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you very much for inviting me, and we will be in Phos4G at the end of the summer. So if anyone is there, feel free to stop by. We will have a stand in the main hall, and I would love to talk with you and share our knowledge about QGIS and Mergin Maps and know what you are doing too.
Just before I let you go, Peter, where can people go? I've said the name a couple of times, merginmaps.com. Is there anywhere else where people should go if they want to check out this project or learn more about what the things that you're working on?
Yeah, definitely the merginmaps.com website is very nice to start with, and also joining Mergin Maps /community/join the Slack channel where all developers and all our team and more than 400 users are already there, so you can chat with them about how should I do this or I have some problem, and someone will help you there. And if you are more interesting about QGIS development and plugin and open source migration to open source or support training, then you can visit our company webpage, Lutra Consulting company webpage, and see, for example, our blog. We are doing this crowdfunding for point clouds with Habu and Node-RED, and it's also exciting to see the community involvement in the crowdfunding for QGIS development. So that's like the main pages you can consider visiting.
Thank you very much. I'll get those links off you, especially to the Slack channel, and I will put them in the show notes of this episode. But thank you very much for your time. Thank you for building this. It's amazing. I can't wait to see what people do with it. Cheers. So I really hope you enjoyed that episode all about Mergin Maps, taking QGIS offline. There will be links to where you can connect with Peter from Lutra Consulting in the show notes of this episode. Also, I'll put in some links to documentation around this. Keep in mind there's a free plan, so if you're doing citizen science projects or if working for a non-profit or perhaps in an educational environment and you want to give students first-hand experience of collecting data and processing it and using it to do analysis, this might be a really great option for you. And that's it for another episode of the Mapscaping Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in again this week. I really appreciate it. As always, I would love to hear from you, and you're more than welcome to reach out on social media or through our website, mapscaping.com. There'll be lots of details there. Or for those of you that are into email, just email me at info@mapscaping.com. Honestly, I would love to hear from you. Okay, that's it for me. We'll talk again next week. Bye.